So I had someone recently ask me how they can stay motivated for spiritual practice. And they said that their practice ebbs and flows and gets really strong and then disappears and keeps going back and forth. And so that's the theme for tonight. So what I'm going to talk about, first I'm going to set the context for motivation and practice, and then I'm going to talk about 3 aspects that I feel are very helpful to keeping us motivated. And they're faith, intention, and determination. And so I'll go a little bit through each one of those. Here's the Dalai Lama, quote, "All I can do is engage with complete sincerity. Then whatever happens, there is no regret." I like to think of the Dalai Lama when I think he's a very motivational person, especially for practice. But complete sincerity, that's what this practice calls for. Whether we're able to meditate each day or not, can we be sincere with where we're at? Where are we with our practice? It takes this honesty, this sincerity with what's arising for us right now. How are we holding it? How are we engaging with it? But it can be rather challenging to remain engaged with your meditation practice, your own personal practice, and then if you're committed to a spiritual community like this Sangha, it can be rather challenging to stay committed, particularly when things get difficult with our practices or with our spiritual communities. So psychology defines motivation as the process that arouses, sustains, and regulates behavior. Arouses, sustains, and regulates behavior. And I like to think that it's what turns us on. Right? What turns you on to seek meditation practice? What turns you on to keep coming back to the chair or the cushion? If you're into Buddhism, what about Buddhism turns you on and keeps you coming back to exploring deeper and deeper meaning or truths in this on this path? So what aroused me originally when I first started practicing was I was suffering. I was suffering greatly. And I was in a lot of internal pain. So initially that's what got me to the cushion. And then over the years, as my suffering started to reduce and reduce and reduce, what's kept me coming back is just joy for the practice now. Right? So that I really love this practice, I love sharing it. And what keeps me motivated running this community is sometimes every so often I think, this is too much. It was much easier just meditating by myself. But what keeps me coming back is when people come to me and say, "You changed my life," or "This Sangha changed my life," or "I'm so happy," or "I'm more connected to my daughter," or this practice is, people have said it saved their lives. Or at least help them engage with life more differently. So that's what keeps me coming back to the Sangha, really. But what was it that originally got ignited for you? And you can just call out one word. Was it curiosity, anxiety, pain? Someone dragged you here?
Suffering.
Suffering.
Loneliness.
Loneliness, okay.
Disillusionment.
Disillusionment.
Of our conditions.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Heartbreak.
Oh, heartbreak, yeah.
Stress.
Okay, stress.
Yearning.
Deep yearning.
Guilt.
All right. Guilt. Anyone intellectual curiosity? No? Okay. Oh, yes? Yeah, we could go on and on with that, but that's what got us motivated, right? If it's still there, if those kernels are still there, we can connect with them. If they're not still there, what kernels are there that we can connect with now that will keep us motivated? Right? Because I'm going to tell you that as your practice evolves, your motivation is going to change. What motivated you originally is not going to continue to motivate you. So you're going to have to come up with new things to motivate you. Typically, motivation develops through a mutually reinforcing cycle, right? Where you have desire for something and then you have a reward. So you have a desire for something, you start practicing, and then you get a reward, maybe an insight or some more awareness or some more peace of mind happens. And so that keeps you coming back. The desire and reward again and again and again. But if you guys have been practicing correctly, you may notice that it's not always very rewarding. Has anybody noticed that? In fact, if you're doing the practice correctly, a lot of stuff is probably going to come up. And it's going to be difficult. And then you're going to be faced with this stuff that's arising that needs to be taken care of or held or felt or worked through or healed. Right? And if you're committed to a spiritual community, there can be a lot of frustration or, people aren't always going to behave the way we would expect them to in a spiritual community. And so then we might become disillusioned with that as well. So then what's going to motivate us, right? What really is going to motivate us? And one thing I love about this practice and the Buddha is that he said that suffering is where we start. Our stress. That's a motivating factor. And that when things get difficult, it's not an opportunity to run away. When things get difficult, that's when the rubber meets the road. Right? That's when we have more energy and more, we can use the energy from that difficulty and direct it towards our clarity of awareness for whatever's arising. Well, Americans typically don't do that. Maybe other people from all over the world, according to human nature. But I particularly know more about Americans because I'm here. But most of us are motivated by something novel, new. What else?
Exciting.
Exciting.
Entertaining.
Entertaining.
Original.
Yeah, sexy. Maybe young or something, I don't know. But these are the things that typically motivate us, right? And I'm asking you to plug into different energies. Because things aren't always going to feel that way in our practice. In fact, we can be like, this again? This energy again? I thought I dealt with you like 5,300 times already. So it's not about looking outside of ourselves for motivation, right? If we're going to keep doing that, we're going to be running from one spiritual community to the next, one practice to the next, one teacher to the next, one something to the next. So let's go into faith. Starting with faith. I've heard it called the great faith, and I love that term, because it's a belief that this practice can bring levels of awakening. In fact, that's what the promise of this practice was given us 2,500 years ago, that if you do this practice as it's laid out according to the Buddha, you will awaken, become enlightened, become free from suffering. This faith is rooted firmly in the ground like a huge tree with very deep roots, right? And it's immovable in the face of any storm. I love looking at trees during a storm, how they can bend and continue to be there most of the time. They're so motivating. When the root of faith is present, there's motivation there. Does anybody notice that when you have faith in this practice? And a lot of people haven't connected with faith. It's called saddha in the Buddhist tradition. It's an enlightenment factor, actually. So how can we ignite our faith? Right? One way was connecting with the spiritual master that you connected with. There's a meditation where you bring the Buddha into you and you meditate like you're the Buddha. So some of you may have chosen the Buddha as your spiritual master. But bringing that spiritual master into you as if you're that spiritual master can bring you faith and energy towards your practice and motivation. Because it ignites those qualities within you. Because we can't recognize qualities, enlightened qualities in anyone else that aren't already in us, right? So what we're seeking is what's already in us. So what can bring us faith to have us look within for these qualities that are already present? I like to think of listening to, maybe Dharma talks help you, listening to Dharma talks, coming and listening to inspiring talks, reading great Buddhist books or Buddhist scripture or stories. Just studying the teachings. If there's a particular Buddhist master that ignites your interest, like I love the story of Dipa Ma. And I've read a book about her. She was a Sri Lankan master. And her other people said that she could walk through walls. It was, when she got really concentrated. And she was just such an awakened being, full of love and light and generosity. So whatever can help ignite your faith, if you're capable of that kind of faith. But I want to tell you that even if you don't have any faith, I didn't have any faith when I first started. But as my practice started to develop and I started noticing encumbrances falling away, then more faith started to grow. More interest in faith started to grow in this practice, and I got more confidence. And when you reach the first level of enlightenment, doubt drops away and you have faith in the practice. So faith is no longer a problem for you. So just reach the first level, enlightenment, and you'll have faith. All right, so that's about faith. And there's more to explore. We can explore later about it in our sharing. The second one is setting a long-term intention, using intention, the power of intention. And I like to think of it as long-term or long view over a lifetime. We can set our intention today, but what is your lifetime intention? What is your intention for this life? Do you have one? Right? Because I think those can be very motivating, especially if we bring them over and over again into our minds. And I like to ask people to look at the last day of their lives, looking back over their lives, and asking themselves, are they happy with the direction that they took, with the effort that they gave, with whatever's happened in their life, right? Or do you want to look back thinking, oh, I really went for it, I did the best I could in this life? Or do you want to look back and say, oh, I let fear, envy, regret, greed totally rule my life and I didn't go for it because of that? It's our choice, each one of us. And we're going to go in and out of these different energies. I think that's pretty normal. But keep reigniting our long-term intention. What do we want? Most people allow their emotions to rule their lives. How they're feeling. Should I say that again? How they're feeling. And I've done it, and sometimes I do it. But I'm saying don't let your emotions rule your life. Let your wholesome intention, your long-term intention rule your life. Right? Because our emotions are going to be up and down, they're constantly changing. If I'm down or disheartened or bored or too busy and I'm really letting my emotions rule my life, I won't meditate today. Or I'll find excuses to not come to the meditation sangha or whatever is important to me, whatever I'm committed to help support my spiritual practice. So don't let your emotions rule your life. So set and reaffirm our best intentions to keep us inclining in the directions we truly want to go. Right? Here's a story I found that I thought was cute. It's about after church service on Sunday morning, a young boy suddenly announced to his mother, "Mom, I've decided to become a minister when I grow up." "That's okay with us," said his mom, "but what made you decide that?" "Well," said the little boy, "I'll have to go to church on Sunday anyway, and I figured it would be more fun to stand up and yell at everyone than to sit and listen." So that's not the kind of intention I'm talking about, but I thought it was cute. So we need something to get us going over the long haul. If we're going to run a marathon, there are going to be times when we get up in the morning if we're practicing to run a marathon, right? We're going to get up some mornings and not want to go out for a 10-mile run that morning. Right? So what is going to get us to go out there and run that 10-mile run, or to get ourselves to the cushion, or to whatever we're committed to in our spiritual practice? So I like to think that we need good, inspired answers with our long-range intention to get us over the humps. Conscious or unconscious motivation. So what is your conscious intention? What will get you over the humps? I know for me, I make a commitment to myself and I stick to my commitments because that's really important to me, to stick to my commitments. So that gets me to keep, well, it did originally, to keep coming back. Now it just happens, but so what are some of the things that ignite you? Is it to be more compassionate this lifetime? One or two words, you want to call out a couple things? What ignites you?
Understanding.
Okay. Of yourself and others, or?
Yes.
Great.
Mostly others. I know me. I understand me.
Understanding.
To live more fully without so much fear.
Okay. To be engaged, fully free from some fear. Yes.
Seeing more people open to meditation.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's exciting, motivating. Yeah.
Love more deeply.
Thank you.
Didn't hear that.
Love
I think
more
bearing
deeply.
witness to people not being run by hindrances. You know,
Okay.
when I hear other teachers talk about what this practice has done for them, it seems like they get some real space from the hindrances and are able to really just see so much more clearly and live so much more wisely.
Nice. So being inspired by others who've seen beyond hindrances and inspires you to live wisely. Thank you. Yeah, so if you don't know what it is that ignites your motivation or keeps your long-term intention going, really contemplate that and see what does that for you. What inspired answers or intentions bring you back over and over again. It could be spreading peace, being generous, it could be a lot of different things. It doesn't have to look like the Buddhist particular path. So the Buddhist tradition thinks so highly of intention that in the Noble Eightfold Path, which is the prescription for awakening, it's a second path factor, wise or right intention. It's very important. I recommend setting our intentions. I find intentions very powerful every morning when I first get up in the morning. I like to set my intention for whatever, whether it's to be wise today, or patient, or kind, or committed. And reminding myself every day, what are my intentions today? Particularly when I'm having a difficult time, when something is challenging me, like, whoa, what is my intention here? In every communication I have, I like to stop and go, what is my intention here? And if it's wholesome, I'll send the email. If it's wholesome, I'll have the conversation. If it's unwholesome, I won't. Because intentions is a powerful driving force. And when we live from conscious intention, then we're living a conscious life. Without regret, without remorse, or guilt and shame. But if we don't have conscious intention, guess what? Unconscious intentions will take over that we're not aware of. They're running the show. So your intention sets the tone each day, and it'll help direct your life. So the third one that I want to bring up is determination. Determination. Here's Kwan Yamada, a Buddhist teacher, says, to meet the true Buddha within us, we must be ready to give up our lives. You must summon up the reckless resolve to break through no matter what and throw yourself away. When you break through, you realize great life. Remember, the great determination is the deciding factor. So he's pointing to a reckless resolve with great determination. Oh, that's really intense. But determination and perseverance are crucial to self-transformation. We're trying to get off the old pathways that weren't working for us. We're trying to traverse and create new pathways, and it's going to take an amazing amount of determination and effort. To begin with, we're that one rolling the boulder up the hill that keeps falling back down on us, you know what I'm saying? And we gradually, the boulder gradually gets to the top of the hill. And then eventually, because you like this analogy, don't you, Paul? And eventually the boulder's going to be flowing downhill and it's no effort anymore. But it takes a lot of diligence and a lot of effort and clear, centered mind and a tolerant, loving heart. Right? So that's what we're cultivating. It takes a lot of effort. Here's the Buddha. Those who really seek the path to enlightenment proceed with strong determination. Here's the Buddha again in the Dhammapada. Endurance is one of the most difficult disciplines, but it is the one who endures that reaches the final victory. I feel like a cheerleader up here. Determination, endurance, go, go, go. But when the going gets rough, the determined keep going, right? So what motivates you to stay determined? Your faith, your intention, your commitment to being determined, your commitment to having consistent, regular effort towards your practice. Deepa Ma, the one that I said that I love so much, she would tell people whenever they'd come complaining to her, don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. Here's Milarepa. You've heard the Tibetan stories about Milarepa, the enlightened master. He turned his back to Gampopa and lifted his cotton cloth, thus revealing his buttocks, which were completely covered with hard calluses from all his extensive sitting on the stony grounds of caves. He said, there is nothing more profound than meditating. The qualities in my mind stream have arisen through my having meditated so persistently that my buttocks have become like this. You must also give rise to such heartfelt perseverance and meditate. So we won't have to expose our buttocks today, and I don't expect you to have calluses on them either, but that's pretty intense, isn't it? But we need to be determined to strive through to purify our mental obscurations and the hindrances that Marcia was pointing at until they're gone, right? They dissolve over time, slowly but surely. Determination and or resolve is one of the paramis, enlightenment factors as well. And so is energy, right? They're both enlightenment factors. And these factors, these 10 factors, if you practice them, you will reach enlightenment. If you have them, if you perfect them. Wise effort is part of the Noble Eightfold Path. It's an important part of the practice. And this is about exploring and practicing wise effort as well. So in wise effort, there are the 4 right exertions, or 4 wise exertions that we're supposed to practice. And you may have heard me teach these before. But apply effort to developing skillful qualities of the mind. That's what we're doing. We're cultivating skillful qualities of the mind, and we're trying to abandon unskillful qualities of the mind. Right? And this is the teaching where the Buddha gives it in the middle discourses. There is the case where a monk generates desires, endeavors, arouses persistence, upholds, and exerts his mind to do these 4 things. 1, to create the environment where unskillful qualities do not arise. This is in the mind. Abandon unskillful qualities that have arisen, right? To support the arising of skillful qualities that have not yet arisen, and for the development, continuation of skillful qualities that have arisen. Does that make sense? So you're trying to create the environment for the skillful qualities to be there, for them to grow, and for the unskillful qualities to not be there. It makes total sense, right? And that's wise effort. That's the teachings on wise effort. We have to be willing to let go of certain distractions that tempt us away from our practice and tempt us away from the path, and devote ourselves to the unfoldment of the spiritual journey that we're on. Because this really is a journey. And when we start to see that it's a journey, and we don't know what's coming around the path, we don't know what the next turn is going to bring us, it becomes pretty intriguing and a lot more interesting. Not always pleasurable, but interesting for sure. For 6 years, the Buddha, after he went out an ascetic, he did, his persistence, his determination did not waver until he reached final awakening. Here's what the Buddha said. If the end is attainable, this is what he said when he was still an unenlightened bodhisattva. He said, when I was an unenlightened bodhisattva, I thought, if the end is attainable by human effort, I will not rest or relax until it is attained. Let only my skin and sinews and bones remain. Let my flesh and blood dry up. I will not stop exerting effort until I achieve that which may be achieved by human ability, effort, and exertion. I bet he was really motivating. You think? To be around him. So bringing up the Buddha and our awareness regularly can help bring us this determination. And his determination, and all the other masters who exerted determination before him, we can connect to that energy, right? And allow that to support us with our determination, give us more determination. We're riding their tailwind. They set the sails. All we need to do is get in the tailwind. It's really helpful to meditate with others who have a long-term meditation practice. You know, at first it took a lot of effort and energy, and now meditating is just a joy for me. I love to meditate, and most of the time it's very pleasant, and when it's not, it's okay. But I don't need self-motivated. So that can be helpful for your determination as well. And the main thing is, someone said that there was a yearning within them. right? I don't remember who said that, but connect with the deep inner yearning that we have that brings us to spiritual practice. The part of us that knows that there's a part of us that's already awake, already free. We've felt kernels of it, we felt the peace, right? We can connect to those parts of ourselves and let that inner yearning grow and bring us continually to a place that brings and motivates more freedom and peace amidst whatever's going on out here. Because it's not getting any, it's just crazy. Anybody notice that? Right? So we're taking a stand in the crazy world for freedom and peace. Here's a poem by John Fox. He says, I am the embers of the campfire dusted in gray ash and still hot at 2 in the morning. I am the jellyfish you touch in the dark water. I am the scary rustle of ceiling to floor curtains late at night. I am the secret you must live with. I am the strange voice on the phone you thought for a moment you knew. I am the stone-sharp arrow pulled against the taut bowstring. I am the rapids of a river without a bed to rest in. I am the voice that calls out, set me free. Set me free. So thank you for your effort in listening and your kindness as well.